Welcome back. This is We Talk Football. Now, this we have the international break, and we saw some really nice games. I'm glad Bafana managed a win against Lesotho 2-0. That moves us 2 points clear in Group C ahead of Benin, and we're going to play Benin again this week. So that's going to be a really crucial game. We've seen some really nice games internationally. Argentina won a big game against Uruguay in the South American qualifiers. England won against Albania. Thomas Tuchel's first game as England manager, and we also saw in the international break we also saw another Cristiano Ronaldo special, another wireless Bluetooth goal. Um, I'm not even sure if he touched the ball, but the way he celebrated, my God, I felt like that was the World Cup final. I felt like he had just scored the winning goal in the 2026 World Cup final. But that's not what I actually wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the Ballon d'Or. Um, it's a very interesting, it's a very good race. A lot of players are performing at a high level this season, and I wanted to talk about some of the candidates that I think could win the Ballon d'Or, or the candidates that are in the race for the Ballon d'Or honor. But before we get into our video, please remember to subscribe to our channel and also look us up on Facebook at We Talk Football and on Instagram as well, at We Talk Football 24. um, so, gonna be a very interesting video. I'm excited to do this one. And yeah, let's get into the video. Now, we obviously have seen a whole lot of players perform really well this season. I've been really impressed by a number of players across Europe, at big teams as well. I think, for example, even with a slow start, Kylian Mbappe has played really well. You've had other performances from, some Barcelona players that we'll talk about: Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Lewandowski. We've seen great performances from Mohamed Salah, obviously, right? Harry Kane has been excellent. So we're gonna talk about a few of those players, right? And I wanted to, I just wanted to see, because it's been such a conversation lately, right? And I think because it's UEFA Champions League knockout stages, the conversation for Ballon d'Or ratchets up, because with big moments and big stages like the knockout stages, you want your big players to perform. You want them to, to have, to wear their big boy pants, to carry their big balls with them, really, and to be, chest out, pumped. Be the man, and see if you can take your team to the next level. So, as I said, I wanted to start with a few of those players that I think are in the Ballon d'Or race. Let's start with Harry Kane. He's had a really good season. I think he's had another. Last season he was phenomenal. Just the team didn't win the Bundesliga. So ironic. Harry Kane has never won a major trophy in his career. The minute he goes to one of the greatest teams in world football, a team that usually just wins the league, the Bundesliga, they don't win that season. Talk about Spursism, right? He took it. Harry Kane took Spursism with him to Bavaria. Anyway, this season he's been excellent. He has 21 goals in the Bundesliga. I think that's impressive, but what's even more impressive is that he's the second top scorer in the Champions League this season with 10 goals. He's been out of this world. He's been Harry Kane, and he's been so important for Bayern Munich, as they look to get back to the top. Last season was such an underwhelming season for the Bavarians. But this season they look really good again. They look really strong. They've had like really great performances from players like, I think like it also, you also have to mention a few players at Bayern. Kimmich is having a great season as the captain and the midfield linchpin. He's stopping things. He progresses the ball really well. He's always been a really high IQ player. He's smart. Jamal Musiala, the flicks. I saw what he did against Bayer Leverkusen. He was out of this world. They couldn't do anything with him, right? But that helps Harry Kane. And I think scoring 10 goals in the Champions League, man, that is an incredible feat for any player. So I think he is up there in the Ballon d'Or talks. Mm, top five, maybe. You could say that he could be top five in the Ballon d'Or talks. He could be. I don't think he's gonna win it because he had a spell this season where it wasn't working out quite that well for him. I mean, Bayern are strong, so that didn't affect this. It didn't derail Bayern's season. But he had a spell. He definitely did have a spell this season where he was kind of off-ish. But now he looks like he's back in good form. He's played well. He scored a goal for England as well last night. Or was it 2 nights ago? But he's been really good this season. I don't think he will win the Ballon d'Or. Unless and he performed really well again. He tore up by Leverkusen. He tore them up. And he put him aside. Bayern Munich hadn't won against Bayer Leverkusen in a long time. They were becoming a little bit of a bogey team. But Harry Kane stepped up and he scored some really crucial, great goals against Bayer Leverkusen. So if he continues to have a really good run in the knockout stages and goes let's say he ends up taking Bayern to the final and they win it, he has a great chance to win it. But as of today, I don't think he's performed better than some of the players that I'm going to talk about, in this video. But yeah, Harry Kane, one of the names that I definitely mentioned. He's been great, but not for me. Not right now. Now, this guy has almost kind of come out of nowhere, but it makes me happy that he's doing really well because he's one of the most talented footballers in football. And we know him because of his time at Dortmund, Barcelona, and now he's doing it really well at PSG. Talking about Ousmane Dembele, he's having a phenomenal season. Like, no one saw this goal-scoring output from Ousmane Dembele. And I was watching a video from, a few people that I like to enjoy watching on YouTube. It's a podcast. It's called the Eye Test. It has Cams and Liaz Bouzidi, people from England, talk about football, and they were saying how great it has been. And I was like, one interesting thing that Cams mentioned was that Ousmane Dembele, in previous years, he would try to do a little too much, right? He would take on one player, beat the player, try to beat the same defender again, and that took away from his game because it made him less efficient. And also, if you play football, dribbling dribbling is hard work. You don't look at players dribble and think it's easy. It's hard work. You need to be fit. So that takes away from his game, but he's more efficient now in this PSG system. And I think at the beginning of the season, what's more surprising is that at the beginning of the season, PSG weren't good. And so was Ousmane Dembele. He was fine, but they were struggling. I mean, they lost 2-0 to Arsenal. And it was I said this last time, it was one of the easiest games Arsenal played them off the park. And so, to see what Ousmane Dembele has, done in the second half, well, is after the struggles, after the PSG struggles, what he's done, he scored over 30 goals, and he had a phenomenal, two games against Liverpool to knock them out. And PSG are in a really good position right now to go far in the Champions League. PSG haven't lost a game in Ligue 1, and so I think they've wrapped that up. And you look at them in the Champions League now, they're playing Aston Villa. They have a good chance to go past them and make it to the semi-finals. If they get there, this is football. Anything can happen. We know anything can happen in football. They could face Real Madrid or Arsenal. I think it's likely it's going to be Real Madrid. If they play Real Madrid, I think they are good enough. They are good enough to go to Real Madrid and get a result, go to the Parc de France and get a result and knock them out. I think they've really impressed me. And Ousmane Dembele as the focal point of that team. He's playing more centrally, is another change that I've seen. And because he's so two-footed, his game is quite like he's more lethal. He's more of a threat playing down the middle than on the wing, and I think that's helped his game out a lot. He has Barcola and Kvaratskhelia now playing beside him, and then he can just do his thing in the middle, score goals, be a threat. He's got pace. We know he's got skill, but now he's got more focus. But now he's more lethal. Now he's more hungry to win things. He looks like he's got his head screwed on right now. And so I think he can be a candidate. Same thing. Same thing I said about Harry Kane. He has to take PSG far. The champions, the French champions, PSG have to go far in the Champions League for him to have a chance at winning the Ballon d'Or. So let's see how it goes. All right, now I think, like I spoke about Harry Kane and Ousmane Dembele, I think they have slim chances of winning the Ballon d'Or. But I think their case, like the Ballon d'Or cases, are more dependent on them actually going far and probably even winning the Champions League than these guys, because I think these guys have had way better, like they've been not way better seasons, but I'll say they've had slightly better seasons. I'll start with Kylian Mbappe. I think Kylian Mbappe has come to Real Madrid. Now he's a Galactico with Vinicius Jr. and Federico Valverde, Jude Bellingham, and I think he's the Galactico. For me, he's the biggest Galactico there. I really like Vinicius Jr. I think he is one of the best players in the world. Probably he's top three in the world, Vinicius Jr. And I feel like he should have won the Ballon d'Or last year. I feel like it shouldn't have gone to Rodri. But in my opinion, Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. I'm not saying he's the best player this season. I'm not saying he was the best player last year. I'm just talking like in general. I really feel like right after the era of Ronaldo and Messi, Kylian Mbappe has become the best player in world football. His goals, his impact, he's always a threat offensively for any defense. And I feel like at the beginning of his time at Real Madrid, started off really, really slowly. But he's picked up a lot of pace, a lot of ground. And he's second in La Liga scoring this season. He's only got 20 goals. But those 20 goals have come really fast after his slow start at Real Madrid. And now I think the team is really centered around creating chances for him. Of course, creating chances for Vinicius Jr. as well. But I think he's more lethal than Vinicius Jr. He takes his chances at a higher clip than Vinicius Jr. does. And for me, he's become I saw him last week against, I think they were playing as Villarreal. and they went to go down. He scored two goals like that to win the game for Real Madrid. And they struggled in that game. But like, having Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior was on the bench, but having a player like Kylian Mbappe in your team, he's a game changer. Anytime he could score a goal, create a goal, and for me, he is like he's got a good chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. If again, I keep going back. If Real Madrid, go on a really good run, they haven't. I think Real Madrid haven't had a good season. They haven't played really well. And I think it was, especially at the beginning, there was an adjustment period. Where is Jude going to play now that, Mbappe is going to play centrally? Will Vinicius Junior's role and dependency change? What about Rodrigo? All these factors. It was like a clanking kind of machine that it was still rolling on. It's clanked into form and it's come together now. And I think it's hugely down to Kylian Mbappe's form and how excellent he's been. I like him. I think he's the best player in the world. Right now, I wouldn't say he's the Ballon d'Or front runner. I'll talk about Pedri now. Pedri, I love Pedri. He's such a throwback midfielder, and like you might make a case. You could make a case, a serious case, that Pedri is the most important player at Barcelona. You could say that better players. You could say Lamine Yamal is better. Rafinha is better. Lewandowski is better. Kerba. I don't know. But I think you could definitely make the case and say he's the most important player at Barcelona because he makes everything tick for them, right? The passing, the ball playing, the retention, how he keeps and takes care of the ball. He feels like a La Masia product. He is such a Barcelona player. He was born to play for Barcelona, following in the footsteps of Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets. He plays football exactly how they would have played football. And I remember when he first came in, he linked it really. I remember saying, after Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, like the other player that I feel like Messi trusts a lot in that team, near his time at the end, Messi, was Pedri. And I think he's like continued to grow. He's had a few niggling injuries. He had a terrible injury in the Euro Championship that ended his tournament. But he still, against Germany, but he still got the medal, right? And I think he was so key, and he's still key for Barcelona this season. Another interesting stat about Pedri is he's got the most ball recoveries for Barcelona. Now you'd think he play for me, right? He plays the 8, but he's a very advanced offensive number 8, and so like for a player like that, like an offensive player like that, you wouldn't associate ball recovery with a player like Pedri. Small, his size is not very big. He's not like Valverde, combative, tackles, gets the ball back, like Declan Rice, who's an 8, who gets the ball back, is combative, fight in midfield. But he works really hard for Barcelona, and he does a lot of things for Barcelona that go unnoticed as well, like ball recovery, like running back and making sure that he protects his defense as much as he can. And that's why I feel like he's so important to Barcelona. He's the most important player. He keeps the ball rolling. He gives the ball to players like Rafinha and Lamine and the offensive player Lewandowski to do their thing. And I think people he hasn't been mentioned in Ballon d'Or talks. I haven't heard his name. I have heard his name a lot this season. I think he's the best midfielder this season. I know Rodri's out, but this season, Pedri's been the best player in world football. And I think he deserves to be mentioned in Ballon d'Or talks a lot more than he is right now. So that's not. with the following guys that I'm going to mention, there's a little caveat that I'm going to throw, and that might hurt their Ballon d'Or talks, or their Ballon d'Or chances, including Pedri. I don't know. The other candidate is Rafinha. Sorry. I wanted to start with Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is such a wonder. He is such a wonder. I keep saying this. I've never seen I have never seen a teenage footballer be this good. As a teenager, just as a teenager, we had Pele with Brazil, scoring, winning goals in World Cup finals at 16, winning the first World Cup Brazil won. He was a great teenage protege. Maybe you could say Pele was as great as Lamine Yamal. Ronaldo back in Brazil, when he was coming through at Corinthians, everyone knew that he was great and he was going to be a superstar. Went to the 94 World Cup, didn't play, but just because he was that good, people said he has to go. They took him, won the World Cup. Messi at 17, everyone knew. Ronaldinho, there's the famous story where he was talking to Kobe and saying, I know a boy who's the bollocks right now, and he's the best. If you think I'm the best player at Barcelona, you need to watch Lionel Messi. He's the best player at Barcelona. He'll probably be the greatest player of all time. And Kobe was like, nah, Ronaldinho, bro, you're the one. You're the best player in the world. And Ronaldinho was like, you need to see Messi. You need to see Messi. He's that good. Everyone knew Messi was coming. He was a great teenage protege. Neymar in Brazil for Santos, being the top scorer as a teenager, taking them to Brazil titles, Copa Libertadores, and Brazil wanting to take him to the 2010 World Cup. And it didn't happen, but he was that good. Everyone knew Neymar was coming. Everyone knew this guy will probably, it didn't happen, but he'll probably be a Ballon d'Or winner. He'll be a game changer for any club. But I've never seen a teenager perform this good as a teenager. Lamine Yamal is for me, I think I might be wrong, and I stand to be corrected, but I think he's the greatest teenage prospect I've ever seen in my life. He is that good. He's so key. He's only 17 years old, but he plays every game, and it feels like you can't even compare him to teenagers. Like, you can't compare him to players like Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly. You can't compare him to players like Desiree Doué. You can't compare him to his contemporaries, his other young contemporaries, teenage No. You compare him with players like Mohamed Salah. You compare him with Rafinha, the best of the best in the world. And he is, on many nights, many moments, many occasions, he is outperforming those players. Like, he's that good. I always say, Rafinha, especially this season, Lamine Yamal has a higher ceiling than Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. I think he's got greater potential than those two boys. I even put out a post on Facebook. Real Madrid have never produced, from their academy, they've never produced a player as good as Lamine Yamal. He's that great. He is phenomenal. He is phenomenal. Now, he doesn't score many goals, and he doesn't I don't like, that's, you see, like, that's the potential that I'm talking about. Once he starts, or maybe he won't, maybe he'll be like Eden Hazard, great, but not with the goals, right? But if he does get to a point where he scores 30 goals every season, banging them in, watch out. He's already won trophies with Spain. And so, his potential is high. He's got 11 assists. Now, that's his strength. He's a great assister. He can assist goals. He can play to the striker. He's got a great striker as well, playing with Lewandowski, playing with Rafinha, players who are lethal in front of goal and score goals. And he's got 11 goals. The one thing that I also like about Lamine Yamal is that he does perform in big matches. Twice this season against Real Madrid, he was the best player with Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior on the pitch. First time he was the best player when Barca won 4-0. He was the best player when they won 5-1 in the other game. And so like that tells you his big game temperament. Against France in the semi-finals, scored a goal after Adrian Rabiot called him out, said, they're not really afraid. He's not really afraid of Lamine Yamal. He's not going to do anything. Jukes Rabiot before shooting right in his face, right, shot it right at his grill, and scored a blinder of a goal to knock France out. Get out of here. And so, like, he's young, but he's got big balls. He's a big game player. I like him. That's one of the things I like about Lamine Yamal. He's really confident. And so, like, if Barca go far and win the Champions League, he's got a really good case. I feel like, also people, they put him like a lot of the discourse around the Ballon d'Or, they usually put him around third for Ballon d'Or honors. I think he's high. I think he might be like second, maybe even first. And like I'll say, like, okay, as I segue into talking about Rafinha, his game is better than Rafinha's game. I feel like Rafinha has the goals and the assists, but Lamine Yamal's game, in a tight spot, he can do more than Rafinha, right? He can get away from a defender better ball control, better skill. But he's phenomenal. He's excellent. Whew. And like this takes me to Rafinha, who I think has been excellent as well. He had a few seasons at Barcelona where it looked like they were going to sell him. It looked like another Frankie de Jong kind of story where you buy a player with a lot of potential at Barcelona. He has a few seasons where he underwhelms and it looks like he's just going to be out the door. And funny thing is, Barcelona were interested in signing Nico Williams this past summer, right? And I think there was the fans were already, saying, okay, Nico Williams is going to play on the left. It's going to be Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal on the right. Excellent attack. They were really excited about the prospect. And I think Rafinha kind of commented saying something like, you guys already counted me out. Let's see how the season goes, and I'm going to prove myself. And prove himself he has. He already has 11 goals and 5 assists in the Champions League. That goal and assist return is better than the huge, MSN season that Neymar had in 2014, 2013. He's got more goals and assists than Neymar that season. Can you imagine how good that is? I mean, like, that is the MSN. Neymar, Suarez, Messi is regarded as the greatest front three football has ever seen. And to have better numbers already, and we're only going into the final 8 of the Champions League, and you already have better numbers than that Neymar, that version of Neymar, right? So he's been excellent. Also, what I said about Lamine Yamal, he's been big as well in big games for them, right? He's been big. He scored a hat-trick against Bayern Munich, then turned around, scored against Real Madrid in that same 4-0 that I was saying, Lamine Yamal was excellent. Scored against Real Madrid when they won 5-1. Scored twice against Benfica to score Champions League winning goals. He scored the winning goal when Barcelona won 4-3 in the final group game. And he scored the winner against Benfica away when Barcelona were down 10 men. Kabasi got a red card, and the captain, Rafinha, their star player, came up tops and said, we will drag ourselves with a 1-0 win with a victory at Benfica, a tough place. And it made it easier for them to return to the Camp Nou. They won 3-1. But it started with Rafinha. His performances, his courage to take on players, his energy at the end of the games to go forward. And the goals were quite similar. Like the winning goal in the group game was quite similar to the winning goal that he scored in the last 16 against the same team, Benfica. So Rafinha, I think now, especially because Mohamed Salah has kind of like he's had 3 really poor games in important moments and big spots where it's like you just want your best player to be the best, and Salah wasn't. I think that's curtailed Mohamed Salah's Champions League. I mean, Ballon d'Or talks. And it feels like now Rafinha has a greater chance of winning the Ballon d'Or than Mohamed Salah does. So Rafinha has been excellent as well. No one saw this kind of Rafinha coming this season. But big ups to him. It's been fantastic. He's been phenomenal. I think he's the front runner. The other guy, I just mentioned him now, Mohamed Salah. Now, Mohamed Salah has been the best player this season. He's been the number one player this season until he came up against PSG and Menge. In Portuguese, they say Menge, but we say Mendes. But he came up against Menge, and in the Carling Cup or Carabao Cup final, came up against Livramento, and that was a problem for him. And he did not show up at all. Now, the whole season, he's been the boy. He's got, I think, 24 goals in the Premier League. He's got 17 assists. He has the most goals and assists. He's doing his best version of a Lionel Messi. Those years when Lionel Messi would win the Golden Boot, but also have the most assists into the season. That's crazy. But this is what we're seeing from Mohamed Salah right now. And the thing about Mohamed Salah is, like, in as much as he receives a lot of criticism for the past few performances, I do feel like the Liverpool attack has underwhelmed. Sorry, Luis Diaz has not come to the party. Diogo Jota has not been good in those games as well. And I feel like if teams nullify or target Mohamed Salah as the danger man, you need your other players, you need your other role players to do their part, to come up and be counted, And Luis Diaz was not counted. Diogo Jota was not counted. Unfortunately, Gakpo was coming off an injury, and I don't think he was quite fit. Maybe he would have made a difference. But Mohamed Salah has been fantastic. And my thing about Mohamed Salah's Ballon d'Or chances is we've seen something like this happen before. And wait a minute. We've seen something like this happen before, right? Ooh. Wait. Oh my gosh. Refreshing at the exact wrong time. Wait. My bad. I'm looking up for something that I actually posted this a few weeks ago about Mohamed Salah and his chances of the Ballon d'Or. They've taken a huge hit. Now, this is what I like. I posted this on the 15th of March on Facebook. And I was saying that in 2003-04, similar to Mohamed Salah, Thierry Henry was the best player in the world, and he was playing in the best team in football. He was playing in the invincible Arsenal team, and he had 54 goals and assists in 51 games. That is crazy. That is like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo before Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Numbers, right? 54 goals and assists in 51 games. Phenomenal. He was the best player on the best team in football. They won the league. Invincible, one of the greatest achievements in football history. But got knocked out in the last eight by Chelsea. And ultimately, we all know the Ballon d'Or went to Pavel Nedved, who didn't really, he wasn't better than Thierry Henry that season. But because his team made it further into the Champions League, Pavel Nedved won the Ballon d'Or. And, or was it Andrei Shevchenko? I think Andrei Shevchenko, Pavel Nedved. But that in itself will tell you, I think Mohamed Salah is not going to win the Ballon d'Or this season. I think. I may be wrong. But if you look at it, Mohamed Salah has been like, his team's been knocked out a stage less than what Thierry Henry did. And he doesn't have better numbers than that Thierry Henry, right? So let's see. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know if Mohamed Salah is going to win the Ballon d'Or. His two underwhelming, poor performances against PSG and the one against Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup final. That is going to be such a stench on his Ballon d'Or chances and his Ballon d'Or charge. But he's been a great player this season, historic. And I think like this season for Mohamed Salah, it cements him as one of the greatest Premier League players of all time. One of the greatest players in football history, I think. I think the greatest African player of all time. You know, but let's see. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I think right now, probably looking like it's going to go to Rafinha, and he's been phenomenal. So let's see how the season will end. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Ballon d'Or will go to any of the candidates that I just mentioned? The best players, I think, of this season are the guys that I mentioned. I may be missing other players. I may be not mentioning some other people that deserve a mention. Let me know what you think. Remember to comment down below, like, subscribe, share, and always watch out for We Talk Football posts. Try every day, but let's see. Anyway, have a nice weekend. It's spring, beautiful spring in Japan, so I'm feeling good about the change of weather. Have a nice weekend and take care. Awareness.